Canada's much anticipated immigration levels plan was supposed to be tabled in Parliament on Friday, but at the last minute, the Liberals pushed it off until Budget Day tomorrow, November the 4th. Immigration Minister Lena Diab told MPs that the world is changing and Canada must adapt responsibly to keep its system fair and sustainable. So, has it been? Let's dig in. The immigration level plan delay comes as Prime Minister Mark Carney himself admitted 6 months ago that the system isn't working. Back in April, he said immigration caps are needed at least for a couple years to help Canada catch up on the strain of record population growth.
We will return our immigration to sustainable levels by capping the total number of temporary workers and international students at less than 5% of Canada's population by the end of 2027.
The last plan already proposed cuts to permanent residency targets, but that's not counting the millions of foreign students and temporary workers already here. As of September 30th, we have over 3 million non-permanent residents living in Canada. So while Ottawa preaches compassion and fairness, Canadians are left waiting, again, for clarity on how this government plans to fix a system that admits itself is broken.
With respect to immigration, last point, they are... We have not lived up to our promise to those we brought to this country. We don't have the capacity in terms of housing, social services, and those who came as students. They're not all getting the education they deserve in Canada. We need to build that capacity. We need to manage immigration at lower levels for a period of time until we have those results and the capacity. And of course, that means working very, very closely between the federal and provincial governments.
Because immigration in Canada has essentially become a runaway train, and the government has lost control. Not only are there upwards of 500,000 illegals due for deportation missing, but we've already seen exploited temporary foreign workers slaving away for peanuts, bogus asylum claims clogging our borders, companies gaming the system through what's called labor market impact assessment scams to dodge hiring Canadians, and sham universities turning into visa vending machines. The fact that there are 500,000 illegal undocumented immigrants in this country right now equals roughly 1 out of every 80 people. How did we get here? And have we simply stopped enforcing our own laws? Add in the fact that recent legal immigration numbers are staggering. Statista data shows Canada welcomes nearly 500,000 newcomers every single year. That's one of the highest immigration rates per capita in the world. In 2022, those numbers doubled from previous years, nearly 500,000 legal immigrants, and almost half of them ended up in Ontario, specifically in the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. Now, the majority are coming from India, followed by the Philippines and China. And again, that's just the legal stream. Over 1 million study permits were issued last year alone. That's more than ever before. And according to immigration.ca, many are drawn by the postgraduate work permit gravy train, a fast track to permanent residency, especially in tech and business fields. This isn't even an immigration policy anymore. It's an endless pipeline with zero breaks and zero recourse when things go awry, which arguably they already have.
I have a tremendous amount of asylum seekers that are up in Etobicoke and in the hotels. They're healthy, they're willing to work, they're hardworking people, but they're waiting over 2 years. And they're just sucking off the system nonstop, not their fault. The fault falls under immigration, that it takes over 2 years to get a work permit. So as we're paying education, paying healthcare, paying their rent in hotels, which is exorbitant, they want to get out there and they want to be like every other Canadian. They want to find a job. They want to be able to first start off renting a condo or part of a house and then buying a house. But we're tired of waiting around. I can't wait around. It's costing our province an absolute fortune. Just last year, we were close to 100,000 asylum seekers, and I'm still waiting to get paid back from the federal government. That's one issue. But there's jobs available in Ontario, And we need to give them work permits and make sure that they're out there working and contributing back to society. I'm not waiting any longer. We're issuing work permits in Ontario for these folks to give back and contribute to society in Ontario.
Canada used to embrace immigration thoughtfully, but now we're just drowning in it. Canada wasn't prepared with the infrastructure, not the housing, the healthcare, the schools, or the transit for this massive influx. And the Liberals call this compassion while it cripples our systems. Entry-level jobs for young Canadians are disappearing, reduced by cheap temporary labor. Students can't afford housing, and healthcare wait lists are exploding. Again, this isn't compassion, it's more akin to chaos. Meanwhile, our own citizens, Canadian veterans, the homeless, young men battling the opioid crisis, they're being left behind. And if you call out this policy failure wrapped in feel-good rhetoric and sold as virtue, government-subsidized radical left academics call you hate-filled and racist. The government rolls out the red carpet for anyone with a pulse and a sob story, with serious security flags waved through as though criminality, health hazards, and security risks, well, I guess they ain't no thing. The government's own annual immigration report shows this clearly. 3 males admitted despite being major security risks. Think things like espionage, subversion, terrorism. 616 with serious criminal records. Another 1,448 flagged for just basic criminality, not serious like the other 600. Even individuals, mostly females, deemed a danger to public health or safety were let in. So are we supposed to believe that these same people will suddenly become law-abiding, upstanding citizens? And then there's the tragic case recently in Richmond Hill, just outside of Toronto, where a man drove through a daycare, killing a toddler and injuring a handful of others. He needed a translator for court. He can't speak English well enough to go to trial, so how was he allowed to drive here in the first place? This is what happens when vetting and integration are optional, not mandatory, or easily skirted for a free pass. Immigration without integration isn't multiculturalism. It's an invasion by mismanagement. We need policies that make sure newcomers contribute meaningfully without eroding what's left of our social cohesion.
Our economy over the last 5 years has been driven by a big increase in the labor force, which was largely because of a surge in immigration that is now trying to be controlled, and by government spending that grew over 9% year after year after year, twice the rate of growth of our economy. So our economy was weak before we got to the point of these threats from President Trump.
Because if we don't pump the brakes now, the next decade will only get worse. Canadians already want immigration cuts. They see what's happening. Tent cities, unaffordable housing, a vanishing middle class, and food banks seeing unprecedented use. It's time to reclaim this country, to cap the fraud, vet properly, and prioritize skilled English-speaking, security-cleared applicants. Otherwise, the Canada you knew, the one built on fairness, opportunity, and order, will disappear under the weight of endless sprawl and unkept promises. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. Welcome to Your New Canada, where rules exist only on paper. 500,000 undocumented immigrants roam unchecked. Over 3 million temporary workers, students, and visitors are flooding and gaming the system. Housing is scarce, healthcare is stretched, and jobs for Canadians are vanishing. To find more reports on this topic and get involved for yourself and to see some change, head on over to yournewcanada.com. That's yournewcanada.com.